Narcissists take away your desire to be good to the next person, because that's normally what happens, and we can combine this with your childhood traumas. That's definitely something that's going to add more weight to your pain, and you may not even be consciously aware of it, or maybe you are, or maybe you're not. Either way, you're going to feel the weight of that pain, and it's going to hurt that much more because of that. Because now that heartbreak, or the coming out of that narcissistically abusive relationship, or finding out that you were getting played by the person that you really had high hopes for, and whatever scenario that this looks like for you, it's going to hurt more than it normally would if it was just a regular, split up. Because sometimes people split up, sometimes people separate. It's nothing too deep, because sometimes you find out this person's not your match. But no, we're talking about a person that narcissistically abused you. A person that really broke your heart, that really activated that chronic emotional pain. Everything has come to the surface, and you're left by yourself to basically fix everything and to figure everything out, while they basically leave you high and dry, and you're left to fend for yourself emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. And the way that they destroy you is very layered. There's so many different layers to it, right? We can talk about how, they had the intent to hurt you. They already came into the picture with malicious intent. They enjoyed hurting you because it made them feel like they were above you. You see, they get a euphoric high from destroying you in every way that they can, really breaking you apart just like that. Like Legos. You notice that? They play you like Legos. They take it apart, and then they recreate it into something else. Now you're something else that they don't want anymore. But you know what's so crazy? Really think about that. You mean to tell me that you came into the picture exactly how they say that they like, and then they pick you apart like Legos, and then you become something completely different? It's them trying to, change you in a way that it literally erodes every aspect of yourself. It's like they're erasing your personality, while taking from your personality and your interests. All of a sudden now they're into the things that they told you they didn't want you to be into. So that's how that works, isn't that crazy? That's how they move. And so that's another way that they destroy you, because now they're taking away the things that bring you joy. And that makes them feel powerful, because now they feel like, okay, basically what they're doing is they want to prevent you from having that. Not only do they want to take away your support system, and that comes in the form of family and friends, but they also take away that support system that can come in your talents, your gifts, your hobbies, your interests, your passions, because your passions is what gives you a reason to live. It makes you want to, it just makes you feel good about yourself, and they can't have that. They can't have you being confident, because they're not confident. So that's why they do that, right? So there's that. And then also, every time they hurt you, right, in whatever way that shows up, because there's plenty of ways that they hurt you, but every time that they hurt you, it's like they get a high off of it. They enjoy it. Once you realize how much they love to see you in pain, that should really change the way that you view this person. And one thing you're going to realize about these diabolical narcissists is that they love to see you in pain, but they really love to be the cause of your pain. And that is why they do all the things they do to you. They'll do little things to prevent you from becoming the best version of you. Yes, that way that happens, and next thing you know, you're not in the best shape no more. Because they don't want you to be too attractive, because they know that that's going to attract other people that will actually treat you better than they would. and they can't have that. So that's why they do that. It's a way to control your image and how other people see you, and you can't be shining too much around them. That's why that's part of them dimming your light. You know, they can't have that. You're looking too good, they can't have that. No, no. You know, they, like I said, they pick parts of you, right? And then there's that manipulation, the constant gaslighting. That does something to your brain. The level of pain that they put you through is very intense. These narcissists, man, they're all over the place. And they are tormenting anybody that comes their way. Anybody that they have an eye on. That's what they're gonna, they're gonna mess their life up. And so it can really break your brain in so many ways that it causes you to you're pretty much done. It makes you want to be done with life. And that's basically how you know that you've reached the end of your energy. They have taken so much of your energy from all that time, right? That you want nothing to do with men or women. There's a lot of people in the divided states that they're sick and tired of relationships or dating or whatever. Do you know what the problem is in this society is that people don't grow up. They're not thinking in terms of building anything. They're not thinking about, they don't have that kingdom mentality. Too many people, they have that emotional immaturity. They're not thinking ahead. They don't have the foresight to see how these actions, it holds a lot of repercussions that can affect not only their future, their children, but also generations to come, and how damaging these things are to the brain and to your ability to pair bond and really connect and have a satisfying life. But another reason why a lot of this is happening, the reason why so much of this is going on, right, is the fact that there's so many narcissistic and toxic and abusive men and women in this broken society. And the fact that this broken society is, really pushing for that kind of mentality. But I understand that a lot of people have been so burned to the point that they don't have the energy to love again. They don't have the energy to even try again, because they've already wasted so much time, energy on someone that they seem so promising. They said the right things. They even did the right things at one point, and then they just threw a curveball at you and completely destroyed you with their betrayal and their abuse. And it reopened all your past wounds. So now you're left with all of that pain. You're left with all of that, and you have to somehow figure out how to get back up. And that could be extremely painful. And that has a way of making you very cold. People become very cold after dealing with a narcissist. Some of the most amazing people, even they grow cold after dealing with a narcissist. That's how serious it is. They get to a point where when the next person they meet, they don't even want to do anything for them. They don't give a fuck. That's why I said, if you find yourself in that predicament, you should not even date. That's a huge word of advice, is that if you just got out of a narcissistic, abusive relationship, please do not get in another one. Do not get in another relationship. Don't even date, for that matter. Don't look for no rebound. Don't do any of that, because what you're going to do is that you do not want to end up meeting the right person at the wrong time, right? So let's say that you finally meet someone that's actually good to you, and then you end up sabotaging that because your mind is not in the right space to receive that love. And then you're constantly thinking about the past and what this person did to you, what your ex did. And Now you think that you think that every nice thing that this new person is doing for you, now you're gonna remember, you're gonna basically associate that with your ex when they were love bombing you, and you're gonna think that is fake when this person could actually really like you. This person could really honor you and respect you, but you are unable to see that because you're not healed from the past. You're not healed from that past relationship. And on top of not being healed from your childhood, because it goes all the way down to that. It can go that deep, especially if you've never addressed that. And the worst thing you could do is mess up something. The worst thing you could do is hurt a good person. That's one of the most painful things. You don't want to end up doing that. The most important thing is that you know where you messed up and you make sure you never repeat that again. And learn to be at peace with yourself. And the only way you can do that is by being honest about these mistakes that you've made and actually being able to, you acknowledge it and you make sure you don't repeat it, because it's worse when you constantly repeat it. Because what's worse is a person that actually enjoys hurting people and they get a high off of it. That's how you know. Now that right there, that's a narcissist. A narcissist enjoys hurting people. There's a difference between having narcissistic traits and actually being a full-blown narcissist, right? So it's like you could have toxic traits that you can work on. It's a difference between having some toxic traits that you developed from your past traumas and stuff, because that was your defense mechanism once upon a time, because you didn't know any better, right? You didn't know what to do with all that pain. You were hit with a lot at one time. But once you know better, then you start to do better. And that's what you need to focus on, is how can I do better? Is there a different way for me to approach this? How do I, what's a better way for me to cope with my pain? What's a different perspective I can adopt that's going to allow me to actually become a better person in whatever way that means, And so it's all about that. And that comes with forgiving yourself. That's a huge one, but you got to understand that narcissists, right? Or actually, you got to understand that there's a difference between having toxic traits and actually being a full-blown toxic, abusive person. It's very different. What sets you apart from evil people is that you actually feel remorse. You actually want to change. You have the desire to do better. You know what I mean? And that is what sets you apart, because remorse is a huge one. Remorse means you have a repenting heart. And when you have a repenting heart, then that brings you a step closer to better days, basically, But also understand that narcissistic abuse has a way of really changing people for the worst, so we can acknowledge that a lot of what made you who you are had a lot to do with the fact that you were carrying a lot of pain that you didn't know what to do with it. You had no idea. And so, but now, like I said, that's the whole point of seeking knowledge. That's the whole point of wisdom. That's where God comes in. God puts it in our hearts to know and understand what we need to do. And that's what you call divine guidance, is that now okay, in your heart, you know what to do, right? But in order for you to be hit with that, first you would have to actually have a heart. And that comes with you having that sense of remorse and having that repentance, and that's a blessing. When you have a repenting heart, that's a blessing, because that brings you closer. That gives you the opportunity to get closer to God. And that's basically the best, that's a great thing, right? And who knows where that can lead you. This is the beginning of something new. Don't allow a narcissist change you for the worse. Don't allow any type of abuse, trauma, or anything cause you to give up on yourself, because part of the act of you not wanting to be good to a person no more, that's a sign that you're giving up on yourself, because part of what makes you who you are is the way that you treat people and the way that you make people feel, right? Your interests, your energy, that's a big one. It's your energy, right? Your energy, it really moves people in a way that is very, you remember those days. You know, you remember those days, how that happened. So you don't want to lose that. You do not want to lose that essence. And see, that's the goal of the narcissist, is that they want you to lose all the things that make you magnetic. So that way, you know, if it fuels their ego and they feel like they got a one up on you because they've destroyed you. And you know, we don't want that. We don't want them to take the win. No, you take the win by being able to overcome all of those things and still managing to enjoy your life without them. And that right there is going to hurt them to the core.